Today I'm going to have a look at a subscriber 2000 point Necron list that he took to a tournament, and I'm going to be playing this list in my next battle report. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, today we are looking at a Necron list that a subscriber sent in to me to have a look at. He took this list to a tournament and he placed really well with it. 12th position out of 54, which I thought was really good because it was his first ever tournament. Not only that, I'm going to be playing this list in my next battle report. So without further ado, let's have a look at this list. So we are playing, of course, Arks of Omen, and I've named this list Jack of all trades, and the reason for that is my subscriber's name is Jack, and this list is a pretty good all-round list, which is what you want if you're going to a competitive event, because you never know what you're going to face. So this detachment is going to be Nihilik. Nihilik Dynasty, objective secure, you can't really go wrong. It's a very powerful, reliable dynasty. Other dynasty choices certainly are viable, especially if you build to those dynasties, but this list is Nihilik. Jack has chosen Undying Legions for his Wargaming protocol, Directive 2, re-roll 1 RP roll, which I must admit I've never used this. However, I also must admit quite often when I roll my RP I always foul by 1 dice. So I can see that being able to re-roll 1 dice could be pretty useful, especially if we've got a lot of multi-wounded units. So I'm going to run with this. I'm looking forward to playing this in my next game. So heading up the force is the Silent King, FAQ'd so that we can take him in the Arks of Omen detachment without taking the Zerican dynasty. Now the Silent King of course has lost his core keyword, and also we've lost Code of Combat, the secondary objective he was very good at getting. But he's still a very good choice in this list because he gives a lot of buffs to the army. He's a massive distraction for your opponent, and he has a lot of firepower and is pretty good in assault. So overall, a pretty good choice. So next up, it's the Catacomb Command Barge. He's going to have an underslung Gauss cannon. He's going to have a Warsigh, which is going to be upgraded with a relic to the Void Reaper. I'm going to go through the list and how the list is going to work at the end of the video. First, we're going to go through the units themselves. Of course, with the Command Barge and the King on the table, we're going to have 3 My Will Be Dones. Plus, on top of that, of course, all of the buffs from the Silent King. So, a really nice combo. We've then got a Technomancer. This Technomancer does have some arcana. It's called the Transubjector, which basically means you ignore the first wound that you take in each phase. So that gives us 2 HQs, and to be fair, this is where I usually stop when list building, but in this list, Jack's got another HQ, and that's the Chronomancer. The Chronomancer is going to have the Entropic Lance and also the Veil of Darkness, so he's going to be doing some moving shenanigans on the table. That gives us 4 characters in total with the Silent King, potentially making us slightly susceptible to assassination, but to be fair, it's hard to not give up secondary objectives with your opponent when list building, so that's just one of those things. Next, we're into troops, and there's no warrior spam in this list. It's just 5 Gauss Immortals, just basically objective takers. A pretty useful unit. You can't go wrong with this unit because it's primarily going to be just sitting on an objective all game, probably your objective in your deployment zone. We're then into the elites, and our first elite is a Canoptic Spider. We've got particle beamers on this guy, we've got a Gloom Prism and a Fabricator Claw. I've played spiders quite a lot in 9th edition, usually bigger units being more aggressive with them, but a single spider for the points, it's a good choice. Next up we have our trusted 2 units of Skorpek Destroyers. These are units of 6, which of course do make you slightly vulnerable to blast weapons and also more difficult to keep unit coherency, but on the plus side you get two of the big weapons. Scorpec destroyers, again, you can't really go wrong. So now we're into fast attack, and we've got 2 units of 5 Scarab Swarms, not so vulnerable to blasts in that unit of 5, and easier to get unit coherency. 5 Scarabs, great for taking objectives, great for just blocking up the table, and a good number of wounds on the table. We're going to use fast attack as our compulsory choice. That means we can have up to 6 fast attack choices. And next up, it's 2 units of Tomb Blades. Now these Tomb Blades are really basic, so just 3 in each unit, and they've got the basic gun, the particle beamer. I don't usually take Tomb Blades in this way. I usually take bigger units, I usually take Gauss blasters, and I usually take some shield vanes and shadow looms. So I'm really looking forward to playing these guys. These, of course, are going to be mainly objective taking units. They're probably going to die quite quickly, so there's no real need to put too many points into them. However, 3 guns at 6 shots each, that's a decent amount of shots, even though it doesn't have any AP. So lastly, in the fast attack choice is 6 Wraiths with Claws. A very sensible choice. This unit is pretty good. It's pretty survivable, it's nice and fast, and well, it can do a reasonable amount of damage against the right opponent. I play against Orcs, and I find the Claws with their damage 2 against Ramshackle goes down to damage 1. It's not that great, so sometimes I go for Whip Coils, just more attacks with that 1 damage. However, I think as an all-round unit, the Claws are definitely the best option. And then in the heavy support slot, we've got 1 big unit of Locust Destroyers with a heavy destroyer in the unit. So 7 miniatures in this unit in total. That's a good amount of firepower. It takes a good amount of room up on the table. It's going to be a good distraction. And that comes in at 1998 points, giving us 7 CPs. We get 3 CPs from the Silent King. We've used 2 CPs in the list building stage, so 7 CPs, that's a good amount to start with. So that is the list. I'm really liking the look of this list, and I can't wait to play it. However, next we're going to have a look at how we're going to play this list, the deployment, what each unit is going to do, and how we're going to score our points. Now, my first thought was that the Technomancer would go with the Locust Destroyers. However, that's not the case. The Technomancer is going to run with the Wraiths, and this is going to be run in an aggressive way. We're going to put these up front and push them forward. Actually, we're going to be pushing quite a number of units forward. The Chronomancer is going to go with the 2 units of Scorpec Destroyers. We're going to try to keep the Silent King near these units to give them their buffs, and behind the Silent King is going to be the Canoptic Spider. That's why we've got the Fabricator Claw on the Spider, to hopefully regenerate some wounds on the Silent King. All of these units and the Catacomb Command Barge are all going to push forward. These are the units you're telling your opponent, you have to deal with me. And on top of that, they're going to have to deal with our big unit of Locust Destroyers. This unit is a distraction unit. We're going to flank them, we're going to put them on an objective, we're going to add even more pressure onto our opponent. Our 2 units of Tomb Blades, the Immortals, and of course the 2 units of Scarab Swarms are just there to take objectives. Now, of course, it does depend on your opponent. If your opponent has a lot of psychic powers, you may want to put some Scarabs up front to soak up some of the mortal wounds. However, generally, our Scarab Swarms, our 2 units of Tomb Blades, and our Immortals are going to be at the back, ready to take objectives. The 2 secondaries that we've got locked for the list is Treasures of Eons, of course getting on those central objectives, pretty good for an army which is going to push forward, and also the units at the back are pretty fast, like the Tomb Blades and the Scarabs. And then of course we're going to be taking Ancient Machineries. Again, the Scarabs, great at doing that, and our units pushing forward also have the ability to do that. And then we have one secondary objective which we need to work out what to take. Now, Personally, I'm going to Bring It Down against Richard, because I think that will give me the best option to be able to get some points. He generally plays a lot of vehicles, but this is something that maybe you'd have to work out against your opponent. And that is the list. Stay tuned to find out how I get on with this list against Richard's horrible orcs. In the meantime, if you want to see some other Arks of Omen videos, here's a playlist for you to watch, and here's a playlist with all of my other 9th edition battle reports.